Good evening. Hello. Is it on? Hello.
Oh, no, I just heard the answer. I thought maybe they're using it.
Hello, everyone. If we could. I don't think it's on.
Good evening.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay? Okay, we'll be getting started in just a minute here. First of all, welcome everyone to the Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting. If you'd like to give public comment on today's meeting, I do ask that you come up. We have a little form right up here in front of me that you fill out. That way we can keep our comments in order. And thank you so much for coming. We'll be getting started in just a minute. Okay. Madam Chair, it is 5:30 PM, which is the start time for the Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board. If you'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a roll call. Member Crane. Member Harvey. Absent this
Present.
time. Ooh,
Present.
sorry. Member Cecil,
Present.
Member Chisholm, absent at this time. Madam Chair, you do have a quorum of the Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board. Which means we're ready to move into our first item of public comment. I do have a disclosure to read before we begin public comment. Members of the public may hear, observe, and provide public comment virtually by registering through the following link, which can be found on reno.gov/meetings. https://LINO.gov/3:G-O-V/3 Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the NAB's agenda. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. You can hit the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window, and we'll begin with in-person public comment. Yes, Madam Chair, we do have multiple people registered for public comment. Our first public commenter today is Art Rangel. Thank you, Art. Please start by stating your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. NAB members, I'm here on item B2, I believe it is, relative to excessive noise within the community. Screeching tires known as burnouts, revving engines, and the gunshot pop of modified exhaust, drag racing and donuts in parking lots, motorcycles with loud mufflers at 3 a.m. in the morning. These are examples of what we see and hear much more in recent years. Northwest McCarran is becoming a popular late night drag race strip, especially on weekends, jeopardizing safety and disturbing restful sleep. As our region continues to grow and density becomes even more compact, these issues will only get worse. Adopting an adequate excessive noise standards will help police enforcement and helps maintain quality of life for Reno residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Cotter Conway.
Thank you. My name is Cotter Conway. I notice a lot of my neighbors here for the noise thing. I'm not here for the noise thing. I am running for Reno Justice of the Peace. And that's why I'm going to be going around to all these places. I am an experienced jurist, and then I'm on the bench now as a part-time judge known as a judge pro tempore. And I'm also a what's known as a master. We call it a court referee. And I assist the elected justices at the Reno Justice of the Peace. So in essence, I'm applying for the full-time position. And that experience, I think the last 8 years is what makes me eligible. I've also worked on or presided over and worked on specialty courts, which are courts that address the underlying causes often of criminal behavior. And so that experience, I think, is what makes me the best candidate. And I would like your vote. I'll be staying for the whole meeting because I am curious about some of the agenda items, and I'll be available afterwards if anyone wants more information about my candidacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Scott Kajar-Rabeck.
Hello.
Push the button one more time. Yeah, there you go.
Hello. I'm here representing the Montage as a resident owner. I bought placed there 2 years ago, but I've lived in downtown Reno for more than 5 years. And so I'm invested in this place. And the concern for me is the B2 item, which is excessive noise. And like the first, like Art said, it's mainly coming from vehicles, motorcycles, and just general chaos at night. It doesn't really have to do anything with like the row or the casinos. They take care of everything themselves. And so I'm just trying to, I want to live downtown. I want to, it's my home. And I think also I work at for Marriott as an executive here in downtown at the ballpark Marriott. And same thing, our guests, that's one of our biggest complaints is the guests complain about noise. And I talk to many people I know at the road, because I know a bunch of executives there, and they say the same thing, like the guests just complain about noise. And so I think it's a lack of enforcement, whether it be like code enforcement, or whether it be, which we've asked for before, like I've asked our council member or city council member Taylor or our police chief Nance, is like, we need to have people walking beats on the weekends and making sure that there's, everything is, good. And then we need police enforcement downtown. Like people are speeding so out of control. I mean, we just had that judge the other day that was run over in the middle of the day. It was a federal judge. That's not happened. And I mean, there's just a lack of law enforcement downtown. And I don't know why that is. And I think that's what's creating the noise, because there's people have this perception they can just do whatever they want to do downtown. So I want to live downtown. I choose to live downtown.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Matt Clark.
Yes, thanks for letting me speak tonight. My name's Matt Clark and I live in the Arlington Towers. I also have been there about 6 years, and gosh, it seemed like the first couple of years I knew when I lived downtown, it's like living next to an airport. You're going to have things that you accept, and it just seems like it's gotten to be almost the Wild West. Art explained it pretty well with everything from motorcycles with, I don't know what they put on there to make the muffler sound like gunshots, to we had the whipping, which we addressed earlier. And gosh, it turns into even every night mostly Friday and Saturday nights from 3 to 5. I face the Roth Alley, which is east in Arlington Towers. And that gets a lot of the traffic for the bars, both the Eden, Tonic, there's several bars. And it's just like the Jerry Springer show, between fights, physical altercation, yelling, screaming, bottles breaking, cars hitting mirrors and taking off. Gosh, Art explained pretty much motorcycles without mufflers. And then this last weekend on Saturday morning at 12:56, I heard 6 gunshots, went to my window and watched 6-8 cars trying to back out of the alley into the one-way street. It's just getting worse and worse. And I totally agree with our last speaker that I just think we need either a bar car, some people on patrol, at least between 2 and 5, maybe in that area. I think they'd see what we're talking about. I filmed a lot on my phone, but it's taken up so much space. I figure this might be the best place to try to discuss it. And I appreciate the police and their job so hard, and I can't thank them enough for what they do for us, but I think we do need some improvement in this area. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Jim Galloway.
Good evening, Jim Galloway. I live in the Palladio, and I love living downtown. And one of the things I want to comment on is that all noise is not bad. One of the reasons that I moved downtown is because I want the entertainment. I want the activity. So what we don't want to do is just blanket discourage all noise. We want it controlled. So for example, I understand the Axe is open. They are doing things at night, but they're keeping the noise inside. The Eddy has been a wonderful neighbor across the river. They're outdoors, but they don't cause us any problems. One of our biggest issues is that when something happens, we've got no one to contact. Reno Direct, there's no one there at night. If you call the non-emergency police line, they usually don't have anyone available. So things languish and people get frustrated. So I understand that there's, in this last budget, we've added a code enforcement officer that is just going to be downtown. That's going to be great. However, that person will be working during the day. And my understanding is now the arrangements are being made so that non-emergency police is what we should call as residents. They will then dispatch someone over, not to issue a citation to the offending establishment, but to have them try to stop the noise. And then they'll report that to code enforcement, who will enforce it the next day. But we're going to get a system in place. And that's the main thing right now, to follow up and make sure that there are reporting systems in place and there's a responsibility. And I would just ask that if someone calls within a week, they get a response back as to the resolution of what transpired and how the problem was solved. You don't want things to sit out there and fester and not have an answer back. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Up next is Sunny Allen.
Hi there, my name is Sunny Allen and I am on the board of directors of the Belvedere Towers Homeowners Association. And I'm here as a downtown resident and a property owner. I stand with my neighbors in Ward 5, soon to be Ward 1, I understand. Members for limits to be placed on noise levels and hours in our downtown area. We certainly understand that living in downtown, the downtown area comes with a level of noise and activity. We would like vibrancy, yes, but disruption of sleep and safety, no. So I am in favor of the Reno RMC adopting a C-scale code for downtown Reno and for it to be placed on the agenda of the Reno City Council so we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Up next is Patrick Anello.
My name is Patrick Arnello. I'm a downtown resident as well. In addition to some of the prior speaker, I like to have the extreme noise at night past 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, the bars and the disco and 6 o'clock in the morning. I thought there was a noise ordinance, but nothing is being enforced. So in addition to the cars and motorcycle, it's the bar scene late at night. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, Magali Rivera. Sorry if I.
Hello, I'm Magali Rivera. I live at the Montage and I've lived downtown for 11 years. And so I also moved downtown because I love cities and I love having people around, and I'm pretty used to noise. I grew up in New York City. The noise in Reno is different. And it is drag racing in the streets. It's fights. I think sometimes people think that we're naive because we live downtown, but we're not. I deal with a lot of noise that's not created by people, machines, early morning garbage pickup, all that. That's not the concern here. The concern, that I have is that in Seattle, in one of the national papers recently, they have somebody who has such a loud car. It's louder than a diesel truck or a diesel train. And their hands are tied. They don't really have things in place to deal with that quickly. So for months, People there have been woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning with their hearts pounding because it is so loud. So the first step is to have some tight ordinances about this. And then enforcement. The guy in Seattle, he just pays the fine and keeps on going. They have to bring a civil suit against him in order to keep his noise under control. And so that's my concern in all this. Right now, things are going along great. And now I'm dealing with drag racing at night, just recently. And they're pretty much there on a regular basis. So I'm concerned about enforcement of why it's still happening, and it'll go on for an hour and a half. So obviously there's no police around to say, hey, don't do that. So, but thank you. I hope that, some things will be put in place.
Thank you for your comments. For the rest of our public commenters, if you could scooch the mic a little closer as you're talking, that way we can make sure the people on Zoom can hear you. I'd appreciate it. Our next commenter is Paul Irving.
Good evening, Paul Irving, representing the Palladio downtown. Can you hear me okay? I would like to echo all of the comments you've just heard from residents downtown. I also am from a big city, and the downtown noise here is disruptive noise. It's not typical downtown noise. I'm accustomed to New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. This noise is very disruptive, and I would urge the council to adopt strict noise ordinances, as well as police enforcement. Mr. Galloway alluded to code enforcement, and the Reno PD, our understanding is they are going to provide some more additional presence downtown and noise enforcement, code enforcement. However, we need it at night. So urging the council again to adopt strict noise ordinances and support the police, provide the funding for additional code enforcement and police personnel to enforce the noise ordinances. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Mac Rossi.
For the record, Mac Rossi. Because of my appearance, a lot of people would say, you should have seen the other guy. Well, unfortunately, I'm the other guy, so we'll work from there. The drugs are starting to wear off, so hang on for a few minutes. Now to a more serious matter. I'm addressing an issue of much concern to me and the communication within Ward 5. I'm not here to make, I want the thing very clear, I'm not here to make any kind of conflict. This neighborhood advisory board is a great part of the community and the neighbors and communication with the city. Due to the lack of concern for this NAB because of the council member Taylor, which should have a member of it, have at least 7 more people sitting on this board. I feel she's let this board down in the lack of new board members' interest. With no respect to the 4 members currently sitting on this board, actually, there's only 2 that are qualified to sit on this board. 2 members have been sitting on this board and termed out 10 months ago. This issue has been addressed to Council Member Taylor with no lack of response. I feel after the many years that I've volunteered on this neighborhood advisory board, so either the month of July or August, or the next meeting coming up, either meeting coming up, I'm going to volunteer my services to place myself on this board. And I've given the opportunity, any other member, an opportunity to address this matter before that time happens. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, Marie Mergolo.
For the record, Dr. Marie Mergolo, Riverwalk Towers. I'm here to kind of echo what my neighbors are saying. along with the boom, boom, boom that we get till 5 o'clock in the morning. At 5 o'clock in the morning, you get the woohoo boys and girls who are out screaming on the top of their lungs for a couple hours, hanging out in front of the clubs. We live on the 16th floor and it shakes our walls and awakens us. So just to let you know, it's not like we're down there at street level. I just wanted to share, and I apologize, it's going to be a little bit loud, but this is what we put up with at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's taken from the 16th floor inside my unit. Yeah, that's my phone. You can't hear it that well, but. And that's a vehicle that just drives around and around. And I've stood on the patio on my balcony and watched police cars pull up alongside of it and wait at the light while it's emanating this noise and then just drive off. So I don't know if they aren't properly trained as to the concerns of downtown residents, or they have soundproof cars. I don't know, but there's an issue with it seems our concerns are not being taken seriously. I sent videos in much louder than this with motorcycles driving down the sidewalk and people opening their car doors, blasting music in the parking lots a couple of years ago. And I got some communication from my council member. And then after a few weeks and they wanted more information, I gave it to them, and then it just dropped. Nobody followed up on it. So it's rather discouraging. And if you want to draw more residents to downtown, make it more vibrant, maybe get enough people there so we could have a grocery store, isn't a way to do it, to just have it intolerable to live. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Up next, we have Jill Flansrake.
Good evening, Jill Flansrake, and thank you for saying my name correctly. And thank you to all of you for what you're doing for our community. I'm here to make noise about noise, but my fellow residents have totally covered what the problem is with the noise. I've been a downtown resident for 10 years. I'm a member of the Community Affairs Committee at the Montage. And what I want to do is just reference for you a document from the city of Roswell, and it's from Georgia's Municipal Code. It's more than aspirational. They back it by the statement with specific noise limits on the C scale. Type of nuisances: noise creating unnecessary noise. Excessive and disturbing sound is a serious hazard to the public health and welfare, safety, and the quality of life. A substantial body of science and technology exists by which excessive and disturbing sound may be substantially abated. People have a right to and should be ensured an environment free from excessive and disturbing sound that may jeopardize their health, safety, or welfare, or degrade their quality of life. In order to ensure attractive residential and commercial areas, it is necessary that an audibly satisfying environment be maintained. The city of Roswell is more likely to attract permanent residents and commercial enterprises if it controls and maintains appropriate noise quality, and the residents will ultimately gain financial improvements and protection in their quality of life as a result of these regulations. I just want to add, like some of the other people who have spoken, I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm used to noise. I'm used to living in a downtown environment, but this is disruptive noise. It is not standard, acceptable, used to it city noise. And I think that's very important for you to consider when you look at this issue. And thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Jill. Up next, we have Jason Brothers.
Thank you. I'm Jason Brothers. I'm an owner in the Montage as well. Good to see you, Gary. I don't think I need to rehash everything. I think you guys can hear the pattern. It's really for me, I'm on the third floor on the the Second Street side of the building facing directly across from West Second Street Bar. So I know those people. I don't ever hear the bar. I have to literally walk out on my patio. So the noise isn't the bar. It's not the noise. I mean, I have to listen for it. There's a car noise. I don't hear anything over the car noise. It's all the drag racing, which is constant. So it made a big difference when the city put the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on Sierra Street, and they did police that for a while, and it was great because people were starting to notice. And then the policing just stopped. So now it's turned back into a drag strip, and that's the biggest. I mean, that's the biggest reason I have to close my doors and windows is people drag racing up Second Street. So if we could do the same thing there, that's much worse than the bar noise on my side of the building. I know the people further up have other bars and clubs that it just kind of circulates in those higher tower units. But on the third floor, I don't ever hear bar noise ever. I've never been woken up from that. It's the drunk crowds that get out after the bar that loiter on the sidewalks once the bar is closed. But that's not the bar's responsibility to do anything about. Once they're outside on the sidewalk, we need police to come and just move people along because that's what wakes me up is the drunk crowds loitering out in front of the bars trying to figure out where they're going next. So the drag racing is the biggest thing, being as close to the street level as you can get. And that's pretty constant. That's the one thing that makes me have to close my doors and windows. So appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Madam Chair. At this time, we don't have anyone else in the room who's registered to give public comment in the opening public comment period. Is there anyone in the room who would like to give public comment at this time? Please come on up. Just start by stating your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. And after your comments, if you could fill out a form, please.
My name is William Freed, and I'm a longtime Montage resident, and I am here to echo my fellow neighbors' concern about the nonstop, noise, drag racing, kids on motorcycles just sitting there free revving them. And I think part of the larger issue in the broader outlying communities here is that downtown Reno is sort of a place that is now known for people to come and misbehave and act out in whatever way they so choose, drinking, throwing up on the sidewalk, that kind of thing. And I think the same goes for, vehicle and music noise. And what I would respectfully suggest is that there be communication that downtown Reno isn't your drag strip and isn't the place you're going to go smash beer bottles. And 2, stepped up enforcement. And as part of that, prohibitively expensive fines that discourage people from coming here and lining up their sport bikes in front of the old Harrah's. Oh, puppy. Lining up their sport bikes in front of Reno City Center, whatever Harrah's is called now, and just sitting there working the throttle at the stoplights to make racket for everybody. If it's a $500 ticket for a noise violation or what they used to call exhibition of speed when I was a kid, those would be sufficient deterrents to probably bring some of it down. And again, I think enhanced policing would be a great first step. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Please approach the dais, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Sharon Boersma, and I'm a resident at Arlington Towers. I can second and third and fourth all the things that other folks have said. Communication, enforcement, presence during the wee hours of the morning. But I'd like to bring up a very specific item that I hope goes to City Council. Noise regulations fall into 3 strips. On the A level are those high screechy noises, including some that our dogs can hear and we can't. And then B is the level in the middle. We are asking for C-level regulations, which do not exist in Reno. Reno has A and B on the books now and could be enforced, but C is not on the books. C are the very low-level noises that could come from cars and motorcycles, could also come from open doors of clubs. They're the things that reverberate through our buildings and in our bones and wake us up at night. And we would like to have those low-level sounds, feelings regulated as well. And many other cities in the United States do this, so it would not be anything extraordinary. But it's time for us to add that as well as then enforcing all of those levels. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could come fill out a public comment form. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to give public comment during opening public comment today? Seeing no one else in the room, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment? If you'd like to give public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window, and I'll give you just a second. Madam Chair, seeing no public commenters on Zoom, opening public comment is concluded. I would like to note for the record that multiple public comments were received in writing and have been included in the packet provided to the board members, as well as the packet on reno.gov/meetings for members of the public. Madam Chair, moving on from public comment, the next item is A3, approval of the agenda.
Your motion to approve the agenda for
Is there a motion to approve?
Jeff Harvey, for the record, I make a motion to approve the agenda for June 11th.
Second.
Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item A4, approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, as usual, the minutes were excellent. I think our recorder is on Zoom, always does a fantastic job. So I move that we approve the minutes of the March 12th, 2024 NAP 5 meeting.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Madam Chair, we can now move on to item A5, council liaison report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and NAB members for having me. Glad to see such a good turnout tonight. And I guess I just want to start off with thanking Mr. Cecil and Mr. LaRude and Ms. Foose for bringing up the noise discussion. I know you've worked very hard on this topic for a very long time, and I'm glad we're starting to have a conversation about it. So thank you very much for that. Wanted to let you guys know that we adopted our $982 million budget at our last council meeting. In that budget, which I think is very relative to this evening, included 15 new police, not necessarily just officers. There's 9 new police officers, but 15 new positions for law enforcement. We do have 1 dedicated code enforcement person for downtown, which is a huge win. We have 4 code enforcement officers for everything south of I-80. So having 1 dedicated to downtown is huge. We still need to work on the nighttime stuff and the nighttime enforcement. We are going to be working on more CSAS operations, hopefully. And I pledge to you that tomorrow at our council meeting, I will bring up the need for a bar car again. The second thing is we have our Parks and Recreation Summer Launch Program going on. You can find more information online. The first one was a couple of weeks ago at Paradise Park. It's really fun. Lots of activities for everybody to come out. It's basically like a mobile activity center that we bring to different parks that we're going to be bringing out to every single ward over the summer. The Reno Citizens Institute is open. I encourage everybody to apply if they're interested, and that application is also online. The other thing I will comment on is all of the Ward 5 NAB people are eligible, just in case you had any questions. There was a statement made that wasn't correct. You are all eligible to be on the NAB. And if anybody has any questions about how to apply to the NAB or is interested, I encourage you to talk to me afterwards. We can have a discussion about that. And I think that is everything that I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, Gary Cecil for the record. A couple of things. I don't know if anybody else saw the new public safety center video, but I would encourage you and thank you for helping to champion that. Kathleen, it's a wonderful building. It's going to serve the community for years, decades ahead. Very, very forward thinking. So it's a big gamble, but I think it's one that is needed to be taken. So that's great. I appreciate that in the council. Also, there's now a monthly downtown report for the council that the council requested. So we are getting some attention. This is why people are concerned today. There's ongoing concerns, but there are some things happening, definitely. And it's all the city departments, including RPD, Downtown Reno Partnership. They are combining together and collaborating to collect data that is meaningful, I think. So if anybody wants that, it's out there and it can be circulated, but it's a good report. And finally, Dancing on the River. I don't know if anybody here went to that, but I know you helped to activate the West Street Plaza. It's getting cleaned up, so there's some movement in the right direction. And that was from when to when? From 4 to 9, I
I
think
think
it
they
was.
did it from 4 to 9, and that was to bring in some of the families in the dance classes
Right.
and then to have a little bit of an after.
And I'll bet the
life.
city didn't get any complaints about that because it's reasonable hours and it's within certain tolerance levels. We all love those kinds of festivals, also bars and brews and at the weekend at the Row. We love all that stuff. It's just the excessive stuff. But thank you for helping to activate the West Street Plaza too. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great, Madam Chair, I forgot one thing, the most important thing. You'll hear tomorrow at council, and I might get in trouble for letting you guys know, but I'm going to let you know anyway, because there's so many people here. Starting July 1st, we are going to have a dedicated walking team downtown police. It is dedicated. It is not something that is overtime. It'll be the first time that we've had this probably in 15, 18 years. Dedicated walking team downtown starting July 1st. Very excited about this. Thank you. Yes.
Can I ask one question? In the city that I worked in many, many moons ago, we would utilize the reserves on Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights for this type of issue. Is that being considered by the PD that you're aware of, the use of reserve police officers to help with the enforcement so that it doesn't impact the budget as much as it would otherwise, hiring the overtime, et cetera?
If we had the reserves, we would.
Oh. My bad.
Well, part of what has happened in the past is we're looking for overtime people and other people to cover it. And it's just, there's the desire isn't necessarily there. So, but we do have 24 new recruits coming out of the police academy. And like I said, we got 15 more positions coming in. So we're getting there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, our next item on the agenda is item A6, Staff Liaison Report. Tyler Shaw, Community Liaison for the record. I have a very short report for all of you. There will be no Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting in July. So the next Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting will be in August, and it's August 13th at 5:30 p.m. Same place here at the Reno City Hall, first floor council chambers. Thank you so much. And with that, we can move on to item B1, which is the acceptance of nominations for the City of Reno Ward 5 Community Champions. Again, Tyler Shaw, Community Liaison for the record. So we're going to be recognizing 2 community champions today. For the board members, their applications are included in all of your packets. And for the members of the public, their applications are also included at reno.gov/meetings in the agenda packet. Here today, we have Jenna DeWar and Mauricio Solario. Like I said, their application materials are provided to all of you, and I am looking for a motion to accept the nomination applications. And after the motion, we'll have them come up and take a photo with the NAB.
I think they're 2 very, very worthy community champions. For the audience, it's a new award, but it's to represent people that in Ward 5 have done things that bring community together. And Lord knows we need that nowadays, I think. So both of these, I think, are wonderful, and I would both make a proposal that we approve their nomination.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. For those on Zoom, we're going to take a super quick break just so we can snap a photo with the NAB, and then we will get back into our agenda. Okay, great. Then we'll just do the photo. Okay, thank you so much. With that, we can get back into our regular agenda. Madam Chair, the next item is item B2, which is a presentation and discussion on noise and base levels generated from activity including live entertainment, bars, special events, concerts, and crowds. This is a discussion only item, and presenting today we have Angela Foos, Assistant Director of Development Services.
Green. Now we're on. Angela Foos with Development Services, and just maybe more so for our audience, within the Development Services Department, we handle things related to our zoning code, building code, and engineering. I will just emphasize, we do not do enforcement. So I just want to let you know that I am not here to tell you what we're doing to enforce noise. I'm just giving you a broader kind of understanding of some of the things we are looking at the kind of higher policy level when it comes to downtown and noise. And also just to kind of share some of the things that other departments are working on specific to address some of the concerns we're hearing. So if we can, there we go. Just big picture, kind of what we want to talk about today is just in the downtown area in general, we know we're getting a lot of complaints about noise, and it's everything from the outdoor concerts to the crowds to activities at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's not one single source. And because of that, it's a challenge of how do we fix the problem? You know, how do you fix motorcycles from not revving their engines at 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning? Some of the challenges we've had just in the past couple of years have also evolved. Keep in mind, downtown, you know, we've always been a vibrant entertainment area. And once COVID hit, everything shut down. So we had no more night activities. We had no more outdoor concerts. We had no events. And I think at that time, we started to see a lot more people move to Reno just because, again, it's a great place to live and it was COVID and people were looking for places to live that had a great, you know, list of amenities and outdoor lifestyle. And so coming out of COVID, we are definitely seeing some challenges with more people living downtown, but also more activities downtown. So we're trying to kind of find that happy medium between how do we have people living, working, recreating, coming to Reno to do touristy things? How do we find that happy medium? So as we kind of work through all the different great things that downtown Reno offers, you know, we highlight the things like the River Festival or the Italian Festival. With Glow Plaza, they're allowed to have concerts and there's no restriction on noise. Just, I don't know that people realize that, but they can have up to 20 concerts a year with no limitations on noise, and that's allowed by right. We also have a lot of just private events where there's concerts happening, for instance, the J Resort. You know, if they have a concert within their parking lot, that's a special event and they can hold those and there's no restrictions on noise. Now, the concerts are one thing, it's the crowds that is the other problem. And I think we heard quite a few comments tonight about, how do we maintain not just the music, but the people? And whether the event ends at 9 p.m. and the crowds continue on till 3 o'clock in the morning, it's becoming a problem, and we know that we're trying to find ways to address it. Now, what we don't want to do is kick all of these great activities out. Because there are so many activities that last all weekend that I know people that live in downtown enjoy and support. How do we find ways to just keep that balance? So as we're looking at all those different activities, we said, well, what can we do? So looking at the noise discussion, downtown Reno does not have a noise ordinance. Different parts of town do. If you're next to a residentially zoned property, it doesn't mean that there's houses there. It just means it has to be zoned residential. We do have a zoning code that has a zoning or a noise regulation. But because our downtown is not zoned residential, it's zoned mixed use for the most part, we don't regulate noise in the downtown. We are talking about bringing something to council probably in August, a discussion of, do we want to talk about a noise ordinance? And whether that's regulating the noise, that A scale that we were talking about, or that C scale, which is really the bass, that thumping sound, that vibration sound, which is not something we do anywhere in Reno. We're going to have that discussion with council, like I said, probably in August, and see if they want to move that forward. It's not something that will happen overnight. I will let you know that too. We definitely have to go out and get stakeholder input. There's residents living in downtown, but there's also a lot of businesses. So we want to make sure that we're trying to get input from everybody before we do anything that's going to create regulation. Separate from that, anytime we create a new regulation, we also have to enforce it. So that becomes another challenge of who is going to enforce noise. We have looked at other jurisdictions that regulate noise. There's oftentimes it's code enforcement that enforces noise. Oftentimes it's the police department that enforces noise. One of our challenges is that, we are definitely understaffed when it comes to policing. You guys have, heard some of the feedback from the police chief about, yes, we absolutely have police forces and policemen and women downtown 24/7, but they are responding to calls. And so while noise is an issue, they are not always there to address noise because they're dealing with, shootings and stabbings and heart attacks and, other kind of high priority calls. So while I want to be cognizant of, we could enact a noise ordinance, we also need to be thoughtful about who is going to enforce that. So just know that that's something we as staff are thinking about and trying to figure out a way that, just because we say we're going to do something, if we can't enforce it, it's kind of a waste of everyone's time. So we're just trying to be thoughtful on all ends. So we wanted to also let you know that, if we had a noise ordinance, we have to be able to show what the source is. And a lot of times we can say the source is a particular bar because they have music going and you can identify that. But what do we do when it's a motorcycle? We don't have, again, police, walking around or driving around and citing people that are revving up their engine or their car music is too loud. So that again becomes a challenge of how are we going to fix this? And I think it's more than just a noise ordinance. It's probably more of a collective citywide. What are we doing to get more people in uniforms on the ground? Years ago, we used to have the bar cart, or, as Councilwoman Taylor called it, we used to have more people in downtown. And this was probably 20 years ago, right? Very different environment because we didn't have a lot of people living downtown. But when you would go out drinking, there was definitely a police presence, and that tended to calm some of the people down in terms of the patrons that are kind of coming out of the bars and were drunk or maybe getting in fights. So just sometimes having more uniformed people helps. And so with that, we wanted to talk about some of the things that our different departments are doing. So specifically to police, as Councilwoman Taylor mentioned, starting here this summer, we are going to have some dedicated downtown enforcement, which will be great. Some of the things that they have been doing that we've noticed a difference specific to downtown is they've had more enforcement dealing with things like the encampment cleanups. We have a lot of calls for graffiti from the businesses, so they're working on that. And also the arrests, since we've actively been trying to do more specific to downtown, we've had a lot more arrests. And while that may seem like a good thing, it's also a bad thing. But I think at the end of the day, it shows that we're making a difference, right? Again, the more presence we have downtown, the more patrol we have, the better off we are to have more eyes on what's happening. So again, we're hoping to kind of keep that momentum and have more police force later this summer. And then specific to code enforcement. So with this last budget approval, we did get one dedicated code enforcement officer, which is great. And so again, they're not dealing with night activity so much. They're dealing with just the day-to-day, what can we do to help clean up downtown? And it's everything from some of those blighted empty buildings or empty just parking lots. We also have a lot of vehicles that are parked for days or weeks at a time. So they'll be out there and helping to remove those cars with some of the towing. That's something we're seeing citywide, definitely with more of the challenges with homeless and people not having a place to live. We have a lot of people living in their car or just leaving their car in places. And so citywide, that is continuing to be a problem. But the more we can do to clean up our downtown, of course, the better off it is for just presence as a city, presence in terms of tourism. And of course, we want to live somewhere that we're proud of. And so with, again, that code enforcement position, they're working that Monday through Friday, more of that daytime schedule. And they will be paid overtime to work at night. So just know that, again, while we have more code enforcement downtown, the intent is not to have somebody downtown in the evening hours, but we will have the ability, if we have overtime budget, to have them help address some of our downtown concerns that are happening at night. And then finally, the ambassador program. And I know Ms. Jordan has come and talked to some of the different downtown groups, and I'm sure she's talked to the Ward 5 NAB as well. So with their ambassador program, they do not do things to deal with our zoning code. So and if there was a noise ordinance, they would not be the ones out there enforcing our noise ordinance. But again, the more people we have that are helping to have people in uniforms, the better off we are. So she did share with me that they are in the process of hiring several new staff members who will be working at night. And so their role will be more of moving people along that maybe shouldn't be there. If they see fights breaking out or people that are maybe passed out, they'll be able to call the Reno Police Department. So again, kind of a second set of eyes out there that we don't currently have. And then anytime we have some of these night events like concerts, it's always nice to have somebody to do kind of a safe walk. So if you ever leave an event and you're not feeling that you're comfortable walking to your car or walking home, you can call that ambassador program and they can help you to get there. So again, citywide, we're trying to put more resources in terms of money and staffing into our downtown. No, it's a slow process, but no, we definitely hear your concerns. And we're hoping over the next, year or two or three, you guys will start to see some of these improvements as well. It definitely helps. And I will say this to the residents in the back. It definitely helps when you call that Reno Direct. The more understanding that we have of where's the noise coming from, the more we can track it. If we only get 5 complaints a month, it sounds like, well, there's not really an issue. But if we have people legitimately calling and saying, this is the day, this is the, the time, here's the issue, we can track that. And it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to fix the problem if we know collectively what the problem is. So again, big picture, I'm just hoping to come and kind of share some of the things we're working on. We definitely wanted to get your guys' input. And again, know that probably in August, when council comes back from their summer break, as we call it, we will be going back to council with a list of different changes to our zoning code. And one of them will be specifically, are they interested in pursuing a noise ordinance in the downtown area? So that covers everything I have. I am open to questions from NAB or anyone else.
Looks like you have a question behind you.
Do you want to come up to the mic? Okay.
So once again, I appreciate all of you.
State your name for the record, please.
Scott Robick, and I'm a resident of the Montage. So my concern is with where I work in Marriott. We've been trying for weeks now to get this homeless encampment addressed on the Truckee River. I call every day. I meet with the people every day and they just say, oh, we can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's not our property. And we're getting assessed Marriott as a company is getting assessed like a $24,000 fee for the Downtown Reno partnership this year, and we can't get them to do anything. And it's impacting our operations because our guests are complaining. The people are throwing trash on our property. We have feral cats now. We have all this stuff going on. And I've done everything and sent pictures and shown them everything. And every day they said, oh, we're working on it. Nothing's happened for weeks. And my responsibility in my position, Marriott, is to maintain the property. And Marriott's a very good stakeholder in downtown Reno. We have two properties. We have the Renaissance and the Courtyard, and we take very good care of our properties. And I love the Downtown Reno partnership. They're nice people, but it's just, there's zero action. Plus it's destroying the Truckee River.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone on the board who would like to ask questions of our staff presenter? Ms. Fu?
Angela just had a few comments. First of all, for those of you in the audience, we wouldn't be here today nor having an opportunity to have a noise ordinance even floated with council were it not for Angela and Kathleen Taylor. It's never fast enough a response when you're woken up the way people are or you're bothered the way you are. We understand that. We're on a path here. So I just ask that we be patient. But Angela has been very responsive. She's put up with so many emails from me. She must have me going straight to junk folder some days of the week, I swear to God. But Angela, I'd just like to just reinforce some of the things. Haven't for a while had a chance to speak to you, and I was never on the public record, so I have to go for it. I just want to stress that if you listen to everybody that's commented, nobody has said that we want it to be like pandemic time or a monastery. You're going to hear from some bars and nightclubs and motorcycle riders and car riders and whatever that you guys knew what you were getting in for. We didn't. It's gotten worse. If you look at some of the written comments, there's documentation in terms of the time that people bought and everything that's changed around them. So it really has amped up. If you listen to the words that Jill read about Roswell, Georgia, I think the city should aspire to that. And notice it wasn't just residents. It was about bringing businesses in as well. And as you know, that with the 16 other cities, you look at Orlando and Atlanta's downtown, and they have ordinance, even if you set aside the C scale. And they've grown like crazy, and they're popular, and residents like it there. We can do that in Reno. We can be a cut above that even, I think. So let's try to keep that in mind, because it's not just people complaining. We're proud of this city and we want it to work the right way. And this noise really has to get under control. That said, it's not a zero-sum game. When you hear from some businesses or people say, you just want to stop it all. We don't. It's excessive noise. And that's where the measurement comes in and the enforcement. I agree, there'd be nothing more self-defeating than having the audience and not being able to enforce it. But some cities do. It's a matter of prioritization. So we're looking to get some priority to that. A few other things I just would say, and I'm going back to the monthly report that's coming out now. I think it's council's getting the first one tomorrow.
Okay.
From Ashley. And there's nothing about times of day on there. If you listen to comments, I think it's never fun during the daytime to hear these things, but it's like multiple times worse after midnight. And as Alex Woodley, our code enforcement chief, said about a year or so ago during a council discussion, nothing good happens after midnight. Right. And he's the head of our code enforcement division. And he's right. So I love all the stuff during the day. That's great. It gives confidence, good for tourists too. We've got to have more of a focus when the sun goes down, because that's when people get bold. That's when they do things that they think they can't get away with during the day. And it's not going to shut businesses down. There's great businesses that control it, but there are sources of this as well. There are problem areas, and those I think are important to focus on. see what else do I have to say? Yeah, mixed use entertainment district. Who had the idea of making it with absolutely no noise ordinance in the first place? And how long ago did that happen?
I mean, I don't know that we've ever had a noise ordinance in the downtown area.
Really?
I'd have to go back and look, but since I've been working for the city, since I've been doing work with the city of Reno, I'm not aware that we had a noise ordinance ever in downtown.
Do you think we should have one?
I have mixed opinions on it from an
Why?
enforcement perspective.
Okay.
My concern is how do we enforce sources that we can't control, like crowds, like motorcycles? I don't think a noise ordinance will fix those things. I think there's other things we can do that will help to fix that. A noise ordinance is not going to stop crowds or a motorcycle or cars with loud music. I think we need other sources of people on the ground trying to enforce calmer activities.
I see what you're saying, but I would contend one thing. I think when you've got loud noise in the middle of the night, when people are coming from the casinos where they stop at 2:00, they want loud noise. And if you could see some of the videos that I've seen recently, just from our neck of the woods, there's a correlation between criminal behavior, violence, and that noise. It amps everybody up. They're half drunk or whatever. And I don't mind people enjoying themselves, but again, middle of the night, there's dangerous stuff going on. That's why after midnight needs to be looked at. But I think there's a correlation. I really do. I think if it was under more control, I don't think it would attract some of the elements that come there. That's just my feeling anyway.
Yeah.
Finally, so we're a mixed use entertainment district, right? MU.ED. And mixed use by definition means that there's a number of different interest groups that have a vested interest in wanting what they want, like downtown to look like. There are residents, and as you said, we are growing and we are going to be heard. But there are businesses, entertainment businesses. We want more retail, all that kind of stuff. It can work, but everybody, all those interest groups, when you hear from the others, they've got to compromise a bit. We've already compromised. We already do. But let's keep the communication open. Make sure you blast it out to like people here and the other buildings, because this will be their chance to be heard. And also to hear other points of view, because they are important. We want those good businesses, good actors to thrive. But we have to find a way to narrow that down. But thank you for the work you do and your staff. I do appreciate it. And let us know when that's coming to council. We'll be knocking on the councilor's doors.
Great. Anything else?
Is somebody,
Before we move into public comment, are there any other comments from the board? Okay. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Art Rangel for the record, the Montage. I can completely understand, and thank you, Angela, for bringing this item before the NAB and then the council later on. I always tell people that back in the day, the only people that spent the night in downtown were transients coming in, stayed in a motel or a hotel. They could put up with all the rowdiness and then go home. Well, now that's not the case. In fact, the master plan for the city of Reno encourages, and there are policies in there, encouraging residential uses in the downtown. Montage, 380 units, 376 of which are residential. Palladio, the predominant use in these properties are residential. So it's changed and society has changed. We all know that there's a lot more violence and crime today than there was back in the day. And relative to, I understand the issue of resources. You're absolutely right. Our police department, like other police departments, have staffing issues. I want to just remind everybody, there are 2 funding sources in downtown Reno that don't exist in most other places in the city. One is the downtown partnership, of which we all pay into as property owners, and the second is that we're in the Reno 1 redevelopment project area. We're now starting, because of all the residential development taking place within that, there's a lot of tax increment being generated that at some point in the very near future, we should be able to pay off the bonds. And then that money can go in, and the money by state statute is required to be used for the benefit of that project area, which is downtown. So we will have in the very near future resources that don't exist in other places. And so there's no reason why we can't provide more police protection, code enforcement protection to accommodate the needs that we as residents need. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to give public comment on this item? If you'd like to give public comment, please raise your hand. Go ahead, please come up, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Marie Mergelo, for the record. I just have a question. If you're saying that we don't need a code, we need people for enforcement, what are they going to enforce if there's no code? That's just my question. So I feel like we definitely do need some sort of codes because you can't enforce something that isn't there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to give public comment on this item? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment on this item? If you'd like to give public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone else who'd like to give public comment on this item. And we can move on to item C1. Thank you, Angela, and thank everyone. Thank you all for coming out to the meeting. Item C1 is a presentation from 960 Ambassador for Renown Urgent Care.
Good evening. Adam Clark, Asset Manager for Renown Health. Seeking approval for the use of urgent care at location at 960 Ambassador Way. With me today, I've got Ryan Johnson, the Johnson Group representative for the ownership, and Dr. Med Wallace, CEO of Med Group for Renown Health. We have successfully negotiated a lease agreement for the space at 960 Ambassador off of Robin Charlin's attached map. The specific use for urgent care is not listed under the Charlin's development document. So it's not specifically excluded, but not specifically approved. So seeking approval for that. We've identified this area of town as an area of growth that we're interested in expanding our service lines to the community. And yeah, the underlying zone development does have urgent cares in the area. St. Mary's has one relatively close, but this would increase our service line to the community for the area.
Hello, Dr. Mediwala. I'm the CEO of the Renown Medical Group. As the largest locally owned not-for-profit healthcare system, it is our mission to care for the community. We have noticed a lack of healthcare access in that part of town for urgent care level services. And we think that this is an ideal location to build an urgent care. The closest Renown urgent care is on Summit and in Ryland. Thanks.
For the NAB members, just a comment from staff, Tyler Shaw for the record. This development item on today's agenda is different than normal development projects coming before the Ward 5 NAB. This item is coming to the NAB as a condition of the Charlin's planned unit development. So on the screen, this is from the applicant, is a list of uses that are allowed in the Charlin's PUD. And if you note, urgent care is not one of the allowed uses. But if you look at under the notes section number 4, in order to consider uses not listed, applicants have to come before the Ward 5 NAB, which is why they're here today. There's no action, and this is listed as a discussion item only. The thing that the staff is seeking from the NAB is comments. So if you have comments or thoughts on the use of this space as an urgent care, I would encourage you to say them, or you're welcome to submit I would just say them here or submit a public comment form. But if there's questions from the board, feel free to ask the applicant and we can go from there.
Jeff Harvey for the record. I do have a couple comments. One, although it's not listed as a allowed operation, it's neither listed as a prohibited use either. And in my view, the more opportunity for people to have access to urgent care, the better off we are. So I'm in favor of this myself.
Are there any other comments from the board members?
Gary Cecil, for the record. Is there anybody from Development Services here that could answer a question or two?
I think we might have Leah Picotti here. Leah, you should see a button on your screen that would allow you to join as a panelist. Try unmuting now.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Leah.
Okay, wonderful. This is Leah Picotti. I'm a associate planner with Development Services. And what's your question?
Good evening, Leah. Thanks for being here. In terms of the PUD in the code in Title 18, would this comply with those regulations to have an urgent care added to that particular PUD?
Yes, it would be in general compliance with neighborhood commercial or general commercial, which is probably what this would fall under if it wasn't a PUD, and both of those things would allow for an urgent care.
Was there any reason why healthcare in general was omitted from the original PUD planning document?
I don't know. I wasn't around when that document was originally written. But like I said, this area would be considered probably general commercial because of the proximity to the freeway there, and that an urgent care would be allowed in that area.
Okay. In terms of process, I see about coming to the Ward 5 NAB. This is a new process to us. We actually had a potential cannabis dispensary in this very area as well that is looking for, a similar impact on the PUD. And our board always recommends trying to do the best you can within a new neighborhood, whether it be commercial or residential, to get along with the neighbors. So my question is there anything in the process and procedure that would allow other people of the businesses in that PUD to comment themselves? Or what is the process?
I believe, and this is kind of the first I'm really hearing about this project, but I was there for the cannabis discussion back a few weeks ago. And I believe they're building a new building. Is that correct?
It's an existing building, I'm being told.
It is an existing building, then there would be no other way for people to comment. If they were building something new, it would be subject to a site plan review because it's within 300 feet of residential zoning districts. But if it's just going into an existing building and they're not adding anything, no, it would be up to the administrator to determine if there's an appropriate use within Charlene's PUD based on the input and recommendations from the Ward 5 NAB.
Then I'm going to make the same comment I made to Grace Macadon at the last meeting. And gentlemen, forgive me, I have absolutely no problem with another urgent care facility in that area. I'm just trying to cover it. As a neighborhood board, we also have to be concerned about existing residents or other businesses in that area. And Leah, I still think there should be some way, even if it's not officially in the code, but there is an outreach to the businesses and to residents there just to let them know what's coming, just in case. It just makes sense to make everybody work together and there's no surprises. So I understand this is not required, But my comment will be that I'm in favor of this, but I would hope that the city and the people from Renown would be open to having some kind of communications with the other businesses and residents that are within pretty close proximity.
Thank you
Thank you very
very
much.
And just so you know, I was the one at the last NAB and I did forward your recommendation to Grace.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Are there any other comments from the board on this item? Seeing none, is there anyone who'd like to give public comment on this item in the room? If you'd like to give public comment in the room, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment on this item? If you'd like to give public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. While you do that, we do have one public commenter here in the room. Please state your name for the record and you'll have 3 minutes.
Matt Rossi for the record, add that to my agenda item for that application. Let you know, the Moana Pool is going to be opening on, and moved it up a date till August the 23rd. Looking forward to really seeing this. If you haven't had a chance to get even by there, take a look. We're looking at about $53 million. So start swimming. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other public comment on this item, we will move to item D, board/commission/committee member reports and announcements. Are there any reports or announcements from the board members?
Gary Sussel for the record. Could I just make a comment on the last agenda that I'm following up on, because we had the discussion. It was about the cannabis dispensary, just for the other board members. The attorney laid on the table for us that they've operated in Las Vegas and that there are no problems, no disciplinary issues. So I am following up on that. I may have the wrong name. The Cannabis Compliance Board did not have any record of that particular business. They knew of the name, but they're not operating. Their license is inactive right now. So it may be that there's a lot of different stages to go through, especially with a PUD in this particular case. But my interest is to make sure that this is, if they do it, it will be well run. And the best predictor of that is historical behavior. So I'll let you know what I find out.
For the record, I'll make sure your comments are included in the comments sent to Development Services staff related to that presentation. Thank you, Member Cecil. Are there any other reports or comments from the board members? Okay. Seeing none, that moves us to item E, future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items the board members would like to bring at this time?
Jeff Harvey for the record. Would it be possible to enlist a member of the Reno Police Department to come to the meeting, our next meeting or one of our next meetings, to discuss the downtown noise issue, and if there's anything that they can relate to us, or maybe ideas that we can suggest to them perhaps to help with the noise issue?
Tyler Shaw, Community Liaison for the record. I believe RPD is scheduled to come to the NAB. I think it's in August, but I'll double check and make sure and send the information to the NAB members. But I'll reach out to our RPD representative and let them know that you're interested in noise complaints and see if they can get some information for you and come prepared to receive your comments.
Excellent. Thank you. That's all I have.
Gary Sussel for the record. Tyler, I would recommend that even if it's not Joe Robinson, Lieutenant, he should know about this because he's been incredibly responsive. We send a lot of information to him and he's really, I think he's really knee deep in this. In terms of future agenda items, embedded within a city council meeting a month or two ago, it was at the end of a very long meeting, but it was all about activating Virginia Street. All of the things on the sidewalks and trees and getting people there and mobility. And I don't think there was enough attention that the public really knew that that was happening. I really would love to see a redux of that at the NAB so we could let some more people know and they could come to see it. I think they're going to really like some of the designs and the ideas that are coming forth.
Yeah, I'll reach out to staff and see if they're available to come to the NAB and give an overview of their presentation. Are there any other future agenda items from the board members? Okay, seeing none, we're moving into item F, closing public comment. This is the final opportunity for public comment on this agenda item. Is there anyone in the room who'd like to give closing public comment? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give closing public comment? If you'd like to give closing public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand for closing public comment, and we can move on to item G, adjournment. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Jeff Harvey, for the record, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Gary Cecil for the record, I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. The Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting is adjourned at 6:50 PM.